This is Grand, not a feeding ground for street rats. Remove this woman.
Pour it away. Titty's command cracked through the hotel service yard. Before Sade could reach for the sealed food pack, a waiter tore it open and emptied the untouched jollof rice into a filthy waste bin. Sade stared, her stomach twisted painfully. "Madam, I only asked for what you planned to throw away." Titi laughed and pointed at her torn orange blouse. "This is Grand, not a feeding ground for street rats. Remove this woman before her smell enters the ballroom." Two security men seized Sade. She struggled. One of them dragged her sleeve upward, and a silver bracelet slipped into the light. 7 turquoise stones, 1 empty socket. The billionaire, Balagan, froze behind the glass doors. His wineglass fell from his hand and shattered. "That bracelet belonged to my missing daughter." Every voice died. Dare stormed forward. "Where did you get it?" Sade lifted her bruised face. "Your daughter was alive when she gave it to me. But before they carried her away, she warned me not to trust the man standing beside you." Slowly, every eye turned toward Niyi. Do not leave this story halfway, because that bracelet was only the first piece of a horrifying truth. Subscribe now. And tell us your city and the local time where you are listening from. Then Niyi quietly ordered the guards, "Lock the gate." The iron gate moved with a deep mechanical groan. Sade heard the lock fall into place behind her. Inside the hotel, a saxophone was playing a soft high-life melody. Crystal chandeliers glowed over women in expensive gowns and men in tailored suits. On the largest screen in the ballroom, a video showed smiling volunteers carrying bags of rice into a poor community. The words beneath the video were simple. No Nigerian should go to bed hungry. Outside, less than 40 meters away, fresh food sank into black refuse water. Sade looked at it. Then she looked at the people holding her arms. There were moments when hunger made a person quiet. There were other moments when humiliation pushed hunger aside and lit something hotter in the chest. This was that kind of moment. "Remove your hands from me," she said. One guard tightened his grip. "Madam, cooperate." I said, "Remove your hands. I came here to speak." "I did not come here to fight." Titi stepped closer. Her bright purple jacket was fitted so sharply that it seemed to have been ironed around her body. A small gold name badge rested above her chest. Titi George, Banquet, Scrivis manager. She looked at Sade from head to toe, taking her time, as if poverty were a stain she wanted everyone to notice. "Speak to who?" Titi asked. "The chairman. You? With that cloth that looks like it survived 3 market fires?" Some kitchen workers laughed nervously. Sade turned her face toward them. The laughter stopped. She did not curse them. She did not beg. She only looked. There was a kind of shame that entered a person quietly when they realized they had laughed because somebody powerful expected it. 2 of the workers lowered their eyes. Balagan did not notice them. His eyes were fixed on the bracelet. At 53, Dare was a man people recognized before he entered a room. His face had appeared on magazine covers, industry panels, airport billboards, and charity brochures. That evening, he wore a bright cobalt suit over a white shirt. No tie. A small black ribbon rested on his lapel in memory of his wife, who had died 6 years earlier. But in that moment, the billionaire looked neither powerful nor composed. He looked like a father who had seen a ghost. "Bring her inside," he said. Niyi moved immediately. "Sir, we should call the police first." Dare did not look at him. "I said bring her inside. Mr. Balagan, this woman may be dangerous." Sade gave a dry laugh. "Dangerous? With these slippers?" One of her slippers had split at the side. The sole bent away from the upper whenever she moved. Nobody laughed. Niyi's jaw hardened. He wore an emerald green suit and a ruby pocket square. He was handsome in the careful way of men who studied their own image. His beard was shaped, his shoes shone. His voice rarely rose, because he had learned that quiet commands frightened employees more than shouting. He stood beside Dare like a loyal son. For 247 days, he had done exactly that. When Ronke Balogun disappeared, Niyi had organized search teams. He had spoken to reporters. He had offered a reward. He had sat with Dare through sleepless nights and false ransom calls. He had held the older man's shoulder when another river search produced nothing. People called him devoted. Ronke had called him her future husband. Sade called him the man she had been warned against. That was why his calm face mattered. And that was why the tiny movement of his right hand mattered even more. He touched his ring only once. Then he let go. Dare pointed toward a corridor. Security room. Now, Titi folded her arms. Sir, the guests are waiting for your speech. My daughter has been missing for 8 months. Dare's voice was low. The guests can wait 8 minutes. He turned and walked through the glass doors. The guards pushed Sade after him. She passed from humid night air into cold air conditioning, so strong it raised bumps on her skin. Her torn orange blouse, once deep and bright, had faded at the shoulders. A pale turquoise scarf covered her hair. It matched the stones on the bracelet so closely that for one strange second, the silver looked as if it belonged there, Titi noticed. Her eyes narrowed. The corridor smelled of lemon polish and roasted meat. Sade's stomach tightened again. She had not eaten since 7:30 that morning, when a woman at the Surulere shelter had shared half a bread roll with her. She had spent the afternoon walking from one bus stop to another because she did not have enough money for transport. Still, when they passed a trolley carrying sealed meal boxes, she did not reach for them. She kept walking. The security room had no windows. 4 monitors showed different corners of the hotel. A metal table stood in the center. There were 6 chairs, though nobody offered Sade one. Dare entered first. Niyi followed. Titi came behind them and shut the door. The 2 guards remained close to Sade. Sit, Dare said. Sade looked at the chair, then at him. Am I a guest or a prisoner? Dare's nostrils flared. Sit down. That is not an answer. Madam, Niyi said, you are holding the personal property of a missing woman. This is not the time for drama. Sade turned slowly toward him. The air changed. You have been searching for drama since the day that car left the road, she said. Today, drama has finally found you. Niyi smiled without warmth. You see, sir? She came prepared with lines. Dare struck the table with his palm. Enough. The monitors trembled slightly. For a few seconds, the only sound was the hum of a wall-mounted air conditioner. Dare held out his hand. The bracelet. Sade covered it with her other palm. No, Titi gasped. Are you mad? Sade did not look at her. I will remove it when I know it will not disappear. Dare's face darkened. Do you know who you are speaking to? Yes, then remove it. I know your face from newspapers. I know your hotels. I know your foundation. I know that your people stood on a stage tonight and promised that nobody should sleep hungry, while your manager poured good food into a bin in front of me. Titi stepped forward. Good food? That food had already left the controlled service area. The pack was sealed. It was hotel property. It was going into rubbish. That does not make it yours. Sade nodded once. True. It also does not make me an animal because I asked. Silence. That sentence reached somewhere Dare had locked for months, but grief was louder. Take off the bracelet, he said. Sade studied him. She saw anger, fear, exhaustion. A man who had not slept properly in almost a year. She also saw something she had met many times in government offices, police stations, hospitals, and church compounds. He had already decided what kind of woman she was. Her clothes had testified before her mouth opened. Slowly, Sade unclasped the bracelet. She did not hand it to Dare. She placed it on the metal table. The sound was small. It landed like a verdict. Dare reached for it with both hands. Up close, there could be no mistake. 7 turquoise stones curved around the silver band. The 8th setting was empty. A shallow crescent-shaped scratch marked the clasp from the day Ronke had dropped it beside a swimming pool at age 19. Dare opened the lock. His breath stopped. Inside, engraved in tiny letters, were the words his late wife had chosen after Ronke completed her accounting degree. Fort Ronk, when fear speaks, follow the evidence. Dare lowered himself into a chair. His knees had suddenly lost strength. Niyi leaned over the table. It can be copied. Dare looked up sharply. Niyi corrected himself. Sir, I mean, there are jewelers who can duplicate anything. We have had people fabricate letters and photographs. We should be careful. This scratch, Dare whispered. It happened at our Ikoyi house. A copy can include a scratch. The engraving was never published. Niyi paused. Titi looked between them. Dare lifted the bracelet. Where did you get this? Sade sat at last. Not because she had been ordered, because her legs were shaking. When? 247 days ago. Dare stared at her. You know the exact number. I counted. Why? Because every night I still see her blood on my hand. Dare's face changed. The anger did not disappear. It broke open. Blood? She was alive, Sade said. Injured. Frightened, but alive. Where? Along the Lekki AP road, past the old filling station, near the broken concrete divider. Niyi spoke quickly. There was no police report of an accident involving Ronke's car. Sade looked at him. I did not say police came. What? Kair asked. A grey Lexus. The front left side was crushed. One tire had climbed the gutter. The driver's window was broken. Dare leaned forward. Her vehicle was found at the airport 3 days later. Niyi gave a short laugh. Sir, please, this is exactly how these people work. They collect details from news reports and build a story around them. These people? Sade asked. Fraudsters. No, say what you mean. Niyi's eyes cooled. People who see grief and smell money. Sade nodded. And people who wear expensive perfume so nobody smells fear. Titi slapped the table. You cannot speak to Mr. Adebayo like that. Why? Is his skin made of glass? One guard looked away to hide a reaction. Niyi noticed. Search her bag, he said. Sade stood at once. Nobody will touch my things. You entered hotel property through a restricted service yard, Titi said. We have the right to inspect you. I stood outside the marked line. Your guard dragged me across it. Titi's mouth opened. The guard closest to Sade shifted uncomfortably. Dare did not see it. He was still holding the bracelet. Tell me everything, he said. Sade's throat tightened. She had imagined this moment many times. In her imagination, Ronke's father had listened immediately. He had called the right people. He had thanked her. He had opened doors that had been locked for months. She had not imagined a cold room. She had not imagined guards. She had not imagined the man beside him. I will speak, she said, but not with him here, Niyi smiled. Convenient. I said not with him here. Dare's hand closed around the bracelet. Niyi is family. Your daughter told me not to trust him. My daughter was engaged to him. Then ask yourself why she used the last strength in her body to warn a stranger. The words hit Dare hard. He pushed back from the table. For 1 second, it looked as if he might strike her. He did not. Instead, he walked to the far wall and pressed both palms against it. Niyi spoke softly. Sir, she is manipulating you. Dare kept his back turned. She knew about the missing stone, he said. Anybody can see it. She knew the bracelet came from Ronke. Your daughter's disappearance was national news. Sade shook her head. No. I knew the woman in the car was his daughter, because she told me her father's name. I did not know who any of you were before that night. Then, why did you wait 8 months? Nee asked. Sade's eyes sharpened. I did not wait. She turned to Dare. I came to your office 6 times. Dare faced her. What? 6 times? That is a lie. The first time was 9 days after the accident. Your reception people sent me to security. The second time, a man said I should bring an appointment letter. The third time, they called me a nuisance. The fourth time, they threatened to arrest me. The fifth time, somebody followed me from your gate to the bus stop. The sixth time, I saw him. She pointed at Niyi. He stood inside a black vehicle and watched them push me away. Niyi did not blink. That never happened. Sade leaned forward. Your vehicle had a cracked right taillight. You were wearing a white shirt with a blue stripe. You looked at me for 11 seconds. Then you raised 2 fingers, and the security men dragged me behind the barrier. Dare turned to Niyi. Niyi shrugged. I own many white shirts. She could have seen me anywhere. Titty interrupted. Sir, we are allowing a roadside beggar to insult senior management while the entire board is waiting inside. This is becoming embarrassing. Dare looked at her. Embarrassing. Titi realized too late that she had chosen the wrong word. I mean, sir, the situation. My daughter's bracelet has appeared on the wrist of a woman you were throwing out with rubbish, and you are worried about embarrassment. Titi swallowed. No, sir. Then keep quiet. Her face went still. But her eyes moved to the camera monitor, to Sade's cloth bag, to the door. Something was calculating behind them. Niyi saw it. He gave the smallest nod. Nobody else noticed. Dare returned to the table. Madam Sade, you will tell us where you saw Ronke. You will tell us who took her. You will tell us every detail you remember. Sade rubbed the red mark on her wrist. And after that? We call the police. For me or for the people who took her. That depends on whether your story is true. There it was again. Not curiosity. Judgment. Sade's jaw tightened. My story has been true every day you refuse to hear it. Dare's expression hardened. Do not confuse my patience with weakness. And do not confuse your money with wisdom. The room froze. Even Niyi looked surprised. Dare's grief had made senior executives whisper around him for months. Nobody challenged him. Nobody contradicted him. People agreed before he finished speaking. Sade had nothing to lose except the truth. That made her dangerous in a way wealth could not control. Dare opened his mouth. A knock sounded at the door. Titi stepped out before anybody answered. She spoke to someone in the corridor, then returned with a polite expression. Sir, the foundation donors are asking for you. I can keep Madam here with security while you address them. No, only 7 minutes, sir. Dare hesitated. The gala was not merely social. 3 international partners were prepared to sign a food distribution agreement worth several billion naira. Ronke had designed the original framework before she disappeared. Dare had insisted the event continue because cancelling it felt like allowing grief to destroy her work. He looked at the bracelet, then at Sade. Niyi, stay with her. Sade stood. No, Dare's eyes flashed. You are not deciding anything here. I will not remain alone with him. You are in my hotel. And your daughter was in somebody's car. Property did not protect her. Dare flinched. Niyi spread his hands. Sir, go. I will record her statement. Everything will be transparent. Sade laughed bitterly. Transparent like tinted glass. Dare's phone began to vibrate. The board chairman's name appeared on the screen. He made a decision. 5 minutes, he said. Nobody leaves this room. Nobody touches her belongings. Nobody contacts the press. He pointed at the guards. Understood? Yes, sir. Dare walked out. The door shut. The room became smaller. Nii waited until Dare's footsteps faded. Then he sat opposite Sade. His smile vanished. "Where is the other thing she gave you?" Sade's stomach dropped. She kept her face blank. "What other thing? Do not waste my time. You have plenty time. Your suit is not sweating." Nii leaned closer. Ronk carried a memory card. Sade said nothing. That silence told him more than words. His eyes narrowed. Titi moved toward Sade's bag. Sade stepped between them. Dare said nobody should touch it. Titi's lips curled. "Mr. Balogun is not here." Nii tapped the table once. The guards looked at each other. One of them was the man who had dragged Sade's sleeve. The other was younger, perhaps 26, with worry written plainly across his face. Nii addressed the older one. "Take her to the side room. Search the bag." The younger guard cleared his throat. "Sir," Chairman said. Nii turned his head. That was all. The young man fell silent. Sade backed away. "Touch me again, and I will shout until every donor in that ballroom hears what your charity does outside." Titi smiled. "The walls are soundproof." She reached for the bag. Sade grabbed it first. The older guard seized her shoulders. There was a sharp struggle. A chair fell. The bag dropped. Its contents scattered across the floor. A comb with 3 missing teeth. A folded plastic sheet. 2 sachets of water. An old receipt. A small Bible with a damaged cover. A spoon wrapped in cloth. A photograph burned along one edge. Nothing else. Nii's gaze swept the items. "Where is it?" Sade breathed hard. "Maybe inside your conscience. Search there." His face tightened. Titi knelt to gather the items. Her hand paused beside the Bible. Then, while the older guard pulled Sade toward the side door, and the younger guard stared at the floor, Titi slipped 2 silver dessert forks from her jacket pocket into the open bag. The movement took less than 3 seconds, but one camera in the corner was still recording. Titi did not know that its feed was mirrored to a backup server on another floor. She zipped the bag. Then she raised her voice. "Wait, what is this?" She opened it again with a performance so smooth it might have fooled an audience. The forks gleamed under fluorescent light. Titi gasped. Hotel silverware. The older guard released Sade. The younger one stared. Nii sat back slowly. "Well," he said, "now we know what kind of woman we are dealing with." Sade looked at the forks. Then at Titi. For a second, she could not speak. Not because she was afraid, because the lie was too naked. "You put those there." Titi rose. "Poor people are becoming too bold in this Lagos. You came to steal from a 5-star hotel. Then you built one foolish story around a missing woman. I did not take them. You people always say that. Your fingers are dirty, but your mouth is innocent." Sade stepped forward. Nii stood. The guards moved between them. He lowered his voice. "Listen to me carefully. You will tell Dare that you bought the bracelet at Katangua Market. You will say you heard Ronke's name from the news. You will collect enough money to sleep under a roof for 1 year. Then you will leave Lagos." Sade stared at him. "So you do know she gave it to me." His eyes became flat. "I know desperate people can be taught the right story. And if I refuse?" He glanced at the forks. "Then the police will hear that you stole from this hotel. They will hear that you have been stalking the Balogun family. They will hear that you tried to extort a grieving father." Sade's voice dropped. "You are afraid of a homeless woman. I am irritated by one. No irritation does not lock gates." Nii smiled again. This time, the smile had teeth. The door opened. Dare returned. He stopped when he saw the fallen chair, the open bag and the silver forks on the table. "What happened?" Titi answered immediately. "Sir, your instruction was followed. We did not touch her things until she attempted to run. During the struggle, her bag opened. We found these." Sade turned on her. "Liar!" Dare looked at the forks. Each handle carried the Balogun Grand crest. Niyi shook his head with controlled disappointment. Sir, I warned you. Sade looked at Dare. Check your camera. Titi folded her arms. The angle does not cover the floor. How do you know? Titi blinked. Only once, Dare noticed. Show me the footage, he said. Titi moved to the console. There was a brief recording fault. Show me. She clicked through files. The relevant time window was missing. 11 minutes. Dare's jaw tightened. Niyi placed a hand on his shoulder. Sir, this woman is creating confusion. Let the police handle it. Sade pointed at him. He asked me about a memory card. Niyi did not move. Dare looked from one face to another. What memory card? I asked whether Ronke gave her any other item, Niyi said. It was a reasonable question. You said memory card, Sade insisted. Prove it. The word hung in the room. Prove it. A demand often made by people who controlled the cameras, the records, the doors, and the uniforms. Sade swallowed. Dare sat again. His hand still held Ronke's bracelet. He looked exhausted. Call the police, he said. Sade stared at him. For who? For everybody. Titi smiled faintly. Niyi looked relieved. Then Dare added, and call our head of compliance. I want every visitor log from the last 9 months. Every entry with this woman's name. Every instruction attached to it. Niyi's relief disappeared. Sir, that can wait until morning. No, the gala can wait. Dare opened the bracelet once more. His thumb passed over the engraving. When fear speaks, follow the evidence. The words had belonged to his wife. That night, for the first time in 247 days, he obeyed them. The police arrived at 10:06 p.m. By then, the music inside the ballroom had stopped twice. Guests were whispering. A rumor had already moved from the service corridor to the main hall that somebody had appeared with Ronke Balogun's bracelet. Rumors traveled faster in rich places because everybody pretended not to gossip. A kitchen assistant had watched Titi empty the sealed food into the bin. She had also seen the guards drag Sade away. She did not know what had happened inside the security room, but something in her chest refused to settle. She remembered her own mother. She remembered how hospital staff had once spoken over the woman's body because her wrapper was cheap. So the kitchen assistant stepped into the staff toilet, locked herself inside, and called the Lagos Community Justice Center. Please, she whispered. There is a woman here. They are holding her. I think they want to turn the story against her. 21 minutes later, Halima Bello entered Balogun Grand, carrying a brown leather file and wearing a plain dark blue suit. The receptionist tried to stop her. Halima showed her identification. I am here for Sade Coker. The receptionist's smile stiffened. We do not have any guest by that name. I did not say guest. Madam, there is an event in progress. There is also a woman being detained without charge in your security office. The receptionist looked toward a supervisor. Halima waited. She did not raise her voice. She did not threaten. She simply opened her file, wrote down the time, and said, If you refuse access, I will note your full name beside it. The supervisor arrived in less than 1 minute. Power respected paper, even when it ignored people. When Halima entered the security room, Sade was standing beside the wall. The forks were still on the table. Dare sat with the bracelet in front of him. Niyi was on his phone. Titi looked offended that another ordinary person had entered without permission. Halima took in the room in one sweep. Then she spoke to Sade first. Are you injured? My wrist. Did anybody hit you? No. Did anybody stop you from leaving? The gate was locked. Halima turned to Dare, on whose instruction Dare stood. Mine. Good. At least we know where to begin. Titi made a small sound of disbelief. Dare's expression hardened. Do you know who I am? Halima opened her file. Mr. Dare Balogun. chairman of Balagan Hospitality Group, owner of this hotel, father of the missing woman whose bracelet is on that table. None of those facts gives you power to detain somebody indefinitely. The room went silent again. Sade looked at Halima carefully. This woman was not smiling at her with pity. She was not calling her, "my poor sister." She was asking precise questions. Sade respected that. Halima photographed the forks without touching them. "Who found these?" "I did," Titi said. "Where?" "In her bag." "Who handled the bag before the discovery?" Sade laughed. "She handled it." Titi snapped. "You are lying." Halima raised one finger. "One person at a time." "Was the bag searched on camera?" "There was a recording fault," Nii said. "Convenient. Are you accusing us?" "I am recording what you are telling me." Halima asked for the incident log. The names of both guards, the time the gate had been locked, and the point at which police were called. She requested that the forks be placed in separate evidence bags and not wiped. Titi scoffed. "They are hotel property. Her fingerprints will be on them." Sade looked at her. "How? I have not touched them." Titi's face shifted. Halima noticed. "So," Halima said, "you are already certain what forensic examination will show?" "I am saying she stole them." "No. You said her fingerprints will be on them. That is different." Dare glanced at Titi. Nii stepped in. "This is wasting time. The main issue is the bracelet." "The main issue," Halima replied, "is that several things may have happened in this room. We will not use one allegation to bury another." The lead police officer asked Sade to give a statement. Halima sat beside her. For the first time that night, somebody brought Sade water in a clean glass. She drank slowly. Then she began. "On Wednesday, January 8, 2025, at about 11:40 in the night, I was under a concrete canopy near the old filling station on Lekki Epi Road." Her voice carried them back 247 days. Rain had started after 10 that night. Not heavy rain. The thin, stubborn kind that entered a person's clothes and stayed there. Sade had been homeless for 7 months then. She still refused to call herself homeless. She said she was between rooms, as if the right room might come around the next corner if she walked long enough. That evening she had walked 12 kilometers searching for a former customer who once promised to help her find work in a canteen. The customer had moved. Her phone battery died before sunset. By 11:30, she was sheltering under a broken concrete canopy near a closed tire shop. A plastic sheet covered her bag. Trucks hissed past on wet tar. Every few minutes, headlights flashed over the road and disappeared. At 11:43 p.m., she heard an engine rev hard, then another. 2 vehicles came around the bend too fast. The first was a grey Lexus. The second was a black sport utility vehicle. The black vehicle moved alongside the Lexus. It did not overtake. It pressed closer. The Lexus swerved. A tire struck the concrete divider. The car spun once, climbed the gutter, and slammed into a drainage wall. The black SUV slowed. For perhaps 3 seconds, it stopped beneath a streetlight. Sade saw a dark logo on its rear window. She saw the final letters on the plate, KJX. Then it drove away. Sade ran. The Lexus horn was stuck, blaring without pause. Smoke rose from the bonnet. The driver's side door would not open. The windshield had cracked into white veins. A young woman was inside. Blood ran from her temple. Her breathing came in sharp, terrified bursts. "Madam," Sade shouted, pulling the passenger door. "Can you hear me?" The woman's eyes opened. "Don't call him." "Call who?" "Nii." Sade did not know the name. "Your car can catch fire. We need to bring you out." "My phone." Sade reached through broken glass. The dashboard lights flickered. A handbag lay beneath the passenger seat, but the woman screamed when Sade tried to bend her leg. "Leave it. Please." "Madam, try and unlock this side." The woman's hand shook toward the button. The lock clicked. Sade opened the passenger door and climbed halfway inside. The smell of petrol made her heart race. She unfastened the seatbelt and supported the woman under her shoulders. Easy, easy. I am here, the woman cried out as they moved. It took almost 4 minutes to pull her from the car. Sade dragged her across wet ground until they reached the concrete shelter. She removed her turquoise scarf and pressed it against the cut near the woman's hairline. Your name? Sade asked. Ronke. Ronk what? Balogun. Sade frowned. The name sounded familiar, but her mind was busy with blood and smoke. Who should I call? My father. Dare Balogun. Number? Ronke whispered the first 5 digits, then stopped. Her eyes rolled. Sade tapped her cheek. Stay with me. My sister, stay with me. Ronke opened her eyes again. Blue Crest. What? Blue Crest? Check Blue Crest. Is that a hospital? Ronke pulled at her bracelet. Her fingers could not manage the clasp. Sade helped her. The silver band fell into Sade's palm. Give him, Ronke said. Give who? My father. Keep it. We will find him together. Ronke gripped Sade's wrist with surprising force. Don't trust Niyi. Headlights appeared. An ambulance approached from the Lagos direction. It came too fast, too soon. Sade had not called anybody. Her phone was dead. No other vehicle had stopped. The ambulance carried a blue bird logo and the words Blue Crest Recovery Sperifers. The doors opened. 2 men jumped down wearing navy uniforms. A third remained behind the wheel. Step away, one ordered. Sade shielded Ronke. Who called you? Emergency dispatch. Which dispatch? Nobody stopped here. The man looked at Ronke. Miss Balogun, we are from your family. Ronke began to struggle. No. The second man brought a stretcher. Sade blocked him. She said no. Madam, do not interfere. You reached here before anybody called. How? The first man grabbed Sade's arm and pushed her aside. Ronke screamed. Niyi sent you. The men lifted her. Sade clung to the side of the stretcher. One of them struck her hand with a metal torch. Pain shot through her fingers. She fell to her knees. The ambulance doors closed. Before the vehicle pulled away, Ronke raised one hand behind the rear glass. Her mouth moved. Sade could not hear the words, but she read them. Find my father. Then the ambulance was gone. Sade ran into the road after it, waving her arms. No vehicle stopped. The grey Lexus remained against the drainage wall, horn blaring into the rain. At 12:19 a.m., a towing truck arrived. The driver said the road agency had sent him. Sade tried to explain what happened. He told her to move away. Madam, I beg. You want this car to explode? Call police. They are coming. They never came while she was there. By 1:03 a.m., the Lexus had been loaded and removed. By morning, only broken glass remained. Sade walked to the nearest police post after sunrise. The officer on duty asked for the plate number. She did not have it. He asked for photographs. She had none. He asked why she had not called immediately. She showed him her dead phone. He looked at her wet clothes, then at her bag. Madam, are you sure you did not dream this thing? Sade stared at him. I have not eaten enough to dream that well. He laughed. She did not. The officer wrote half a page and told her to return later. When she returned, another officer could not find the entry. 3 days after the crash, Sade saw Ronke's face on the front page of a newspaper at a bus stop. Missing Hires, family offers 100 million reward. Below the headline was Niyi Adebayo's photograph. He stood beside Dar Balogun, appealing for information. Sade felt the ground move beneath her. That was when she understood the warning. She went to Balogun Towers 9 days after the accident. The security officer asked for an appointment. I have something belonging to his daughter. What thing? I will give it to her father. You think chairman is standing at reception waiting for you. It is urgent. So is everybody's own. They sent her away. She returned on January 24th. The receptionist called internal security. A supervisor listened for 30 seconds, then said the family had warned staff about reward seekers. I am not asking for reward. That is what all of you say first. On February 3, Sade returned with the bracelet wrapped inside cloth. She stood outside from 8:12 a.m. until 1:47 p.m. Nobody allowed her through. On February 17, she wrote a letter with a borrowed pen. The envelope had no stamp. She begged a delivery rider to take it inside. The rider returned 10 minutes later. They said no receiver name. I wrote Mr. Dare Balagan. They said too many people write him. On March 6, 2 security men pushed her away from the gate. One said, "This office is not a rehabilitation center. Carry your suffering elsewhere." Sade did not forget that sentence. On March 28, she returned for the 6th time. A black vehicle stood beyond the barrier. Its right tail light was cracked. Niyi sat in the back seat. He wore a white shirt with a blue stripe. For 11 seconds, he watched Sade argue with security. Then he raised 2 fingers. The guards dragged her behind the barrier and warned that the next visit would end at a police station. That evening, a man followed her to the bus stop. He wore a brown cap and spoke without greeting. "Leave Lagos." Sade looked at him. "Who sent you?" "Your mouth is too active for somebody without a house." He stepped closer. "People disappear every day. Do not join them." After that, Sade hid the bracelet under her sleeve. She changed sleeping places. Twice, her bag was stolen. The first time, she recovered it from a drainage ditch. The second time, everything disappeared except the clothes she wore. The bracelet remained because she had tied it around her wrist beneath a strip of cloth. One afternoon, after 30 hours without food, she entered a jewelry stall at a crowded market. The trader weighed the bracelet in his hand. "Silver. Stones are not all real." "They are real." "Madam, are you selling or arguing?" "How much?" He offered 18,000. Sade thought of bread, soap, a mattress for 1 week. Transport to the Balagan office again. The trader reached for a tool. "What are you doing?" "I will remove the stones." Sade snatched the bracelet back. "No." He cursed her as she left. She walked away, hungry. The promise stayed with her. "Find my father." For months, she searched for another way to reach Dare. She followed news about the foundation from public notice boards. She learned where he might appear. Most events required registration. Security turned her away before she came close. Then she saw a poster outside a church in Surulere. Balagan Reliftation Annual Hunger Action Gala, September 12, 2025. Balagan Grand, Victoria Island. Special address by Dare Balagan. Sade folded the poster's lower corner and memorized the details. She reached the hotel at 4:38 p.m. She waited near the service entrance because the front gate guards had already told her to disappear. At 8:51 p.m., Dare's convoy arrived. She saw him through tinted glass but could not cross the security line. At 9:14 p.m., kitchen staff began bringing out unused food. Sade's stomach betrayed her. She asked for 1 sealed pack. 3 minutes later, the bracelet saw Dare before she reached him. When Sade finished her statement, nobody spoke for several seconds. The police officer's pen remained above the page. Dare's face had lost color. Niyi leaned against the table with his arms folded. He looked almost bored. "That is a touching story," he said. Halima turned to him. "It is a statement, not a performance review." Niyi ignored her. "There is no evidence of this accident." Ronka's car was found at the airport parking area. There was no blood inside it. Sade looked at Dare. "Was the driver's window broken?" Dare frowned. He tried to remember the photographs. The police report said the rear side window had been replaced. "Not rear," Sade said. Driver's side. Niyi shook his head. News reports mentioned damage. News reports said the car was undamaged, Halima replied. Niyi's gaze moved to her. She had checked before coming. Dare looked at Sade again. What happened to the scarf you used on her head? The men took it with her. What color? Turquoise. His eyes moved to the scarf covering Sade hair. The same one? No. This one was given to me at the shelter. The other had a small tear near the edge. Dare pressed his fingers to his forehead. The lead officer asked, "Do you still have the paper from your first report?" No. Name of the officer? I did not know it. Exact police post? Sade described the location. The officer wrote it down. Niyi sighed. We are building a national crisis from the memory of a woman who admits she had no phone, no photograph, and no report. Halima leaned back. Memory can be imperfect, she said. That is why we check details instead of insulting the witness. Titi scoffed. Witness? She is a thief. Halima looked at the forks. Those will be examined. Madam, this is not America. No, it is Lagos. Evidence still exists here. The young guard coughed into his fist. Titi glared at him. At 11:18 p.m., the officers decided to take Sade to the station for a formal statement, not under arrest. Halima insisted on accompanying her. Dare wanted the bracelet kept as evidence. Sade agreed only after it was photographed, sealed and signed across the evidence tape in her presence. Niyi watched every step. Outside the room, he caught Titi by the elbow. You deleted the footage? He whispered. Yes. From the main system, yes. Backup. She frowned. There should not be one. Should not. The hotel migrated servers last month. The old mirror was supposed to be disabled. Niyi's voice turned cold. Supposed to be is how people enter prison. Titi's face tightened. I did what you told me. You did what panic told you. She pulled her arm free. Then handle your own problem. That woman named you in front of the chairman. Niyi stared at her until she looked away. Across the corridor, the kitchen assistant stood beside a trolley, pretending to arrange plates. She heard only fragments. Backup. Prison. Handle your problem. She lowered her head before they noticed her. At the station, Sade repeated her statement from beginning to end. Halima interrupted whenever an officer tried to shorten her words into something different. No, Halima said. She did not say she saw Mr. Adebayo at the accident. She said, Ronke named him. Write that correctly. The officer adjusted the page. At 2:36 a.m., Sade was released. She stepped outside with nowhere to go. Halima stood beside her car. Where are you sleeping? I will manage. That was not my question. Sade looked down the empty road. The Surulaire shelter closes by 10. Halima opened the passenger door. I know a 24-hour women's center. Sade did not move. You do not trust me? Halima asked. I do not know you. Good answer. Halima took out her phone and called the center on speaker. She gave Sade the address, the name of the night supervisor, and the option to go there without entering Halima's car. Sade listened. Then she got in. Trust did not arrive because somebody spoke kindly. It arrived when they allowed you to choose. At 7:05 the next morning, Dare was still in his office at the hotel. The gala banners had been removed. Staff moved quietly outside. His cobalt jacket lay across a chair. The bracelet photographs were open on his laptop. Niyi entered carrying coffee. You should rest, sir. Dare did not take the cup. Did she come to the office 6 times? Niyi sat opposite him. Security receives hundreds of unstable people. They do not send every case upstairs. That was not my question. I have asked them to check. I asked at midnight. The records are archived. Everything is archived when I need it. Niyi's expression softened. Sir, you are exhausted. This woman appeared at the exact event where media and donors were present. She had Ronke's bracelet. She accused me. Now a lawyer is involved. Does that not look organized? Dare finally looked at him. It looks organized. Niyi relaxed slightly. Dare continued. I am trying to decide by whom. The words landed between them. Niyi placed the coffee down. After everything I have done for this family, you suspect me because of a beggar's story. I suspect everybody, including me, including myself. Niyi leaned back. Grief is making you vulnerable. Then protect me by bringing the logs. Niyi stood. I will. He left with controlled steps. The moment the door closed, Dare called Bode Williams. Bode had once worked in compliance at the foundation. 3 months before Ronka disappeared, Niyi transferred him to a regional hotel outside Lagos. Dare had thought it was routine. Now he was no longer sure. Bode answered on the 4th ring. Good morning, sir. I need the visitor access records for Balagun Towers, January to April. There was a pause. Sir, I no longer have access. Who does? Mr. Adebayo's office. Dare's grip tightened around the phone. Did Ronke ever ask you about Blue Crest Recovery Services? The silence on the line became heavier. Bode? Yes, sir. What did she ask? She wanted to know why a closed medical transport company was receiving payments through one of our food vendors. Dare stood so quickly the chair rolled backward. Why did you not tell me? I submitted a preliminary note. To who? Mr. Adebayo. Dare shut his eyes. Do you have a copy? Another pause. Yes, send it. At 7:22 a.m., an email arrived. Attached was a scanned compliance memo dated December 19, 2024. Blue Crest Recovery Services appeared in the 3rd paragraph. At the bottom of the final page was a handwritten instruction. Transfer Bode Williams. Freeze air review pending management authorization. The signature belonged to Niyi Adebayo. At 8:11 a.m., Bode sent another file. It was a photograph of the visitor log covering January to March. Sade Cocker appeared 6 times. Beside every entry was the same red note. Do not escalate to Balagun. Inspection from Emma Adebayo. Dare stared at the screen. The room was cold. Sweat gathered beneath his collar. For 8 months, he had believed no witness had ever come forward with a credible account. A witness had come 6 times. She had stood beneath his building. She had carried his daughter's bracelet, and the man he trusted most had made sure she remained outside. Dare did not call Niyi back into the office. He did not shout. He did not summon security. For many years, anger had been a luxury Dare could afford because other people cleaned up the consequences. That morning, he understood that one careless accusation could warn the very person he needed to watch. So he sat down. He forwarded the files to a private address Niyi did not know existed. He printed one copy. Then he placed the printout inside an old property folder marked APAPA, Renovation, a file so boring that no ambitious executive had opened it in 7 years. At 8:39 a.m., he called Halima. I need your help. You need an independent investigation, she replied. I can pay for one. That is not the same thing. What do you mean? I mean, the people investigating must not owe you their conclusions. They must be able to tell you when your own conduct is part of the problem. Dare stared at the photograph of his wife on the shelf. Fine. And Sade must have her own lawyer. Not a lawyer chosen by you. Fine. Her accommodation cannot be tied to whether she cooperates. Dare's jaw tightened. I was not planning to bribe her. Good. Then you will not object to putting that in writing. There was a pause. Dare almost ended the call. Men who commanded companies were not used to being given conditions by people they had contacted for help. But on the desk before him were 6 ignored visits, and 1 signature from the man he trusted. Pride had already cost enough. Put it in writing, he said. By noon, Halima had arranged a small conference room at the Community Justice Center. It had cream walls, a slow ceiling fan, and a water dispenser that made a clicking sound every few minutes. Sade arrived wearing the same orange blouse, now stitched at the wrist with blue thread. The women's center had offered her another top. She refused. "This one is evidence," she said. Halima did not argue. Dare arrived without his usual convoy. One driver, one security officer waiting outside. Sade noticed. "You have come to look humble?" she asked. "No. You left the shining cars at home." "I came to listen. We will see." Halima placed 3 voice recorders on the table. "One belongs to the center," she explained. "One belongs to Mr. Balogun's investigation team. One is for Sade. Everybody receives the same recording." Dare nodded. Sade looked surprised. "You will give me one?" "Yes. I do not have where to play it." "We will keep your copy sealed here until you request it." Sade sat. The first interview lasted 4 hours and 13 minutes. The second lasted 2 hours and 49 minutes. The third happened the following day. Halima asked Sade to tell the accident story forward, then backward. She asked about sounds, distances, road signs, and weather. She did not correct her while she spoke. Some details changed. In the first account, Sade said the ambulance arrived after 7 minutes. In the second, she said perhaps 10. She remembered one attendant as tall, then later admitted she had mostly seen his shoulders in darkness. She first described the blue crest bird as facing left, then became uncertain. Nii's supporters would later point to those differences. Halima wrote them down herself. "Why are you recording my mistakes?" Sade asked. "Because an honest memory is not a polished speech. So they will say I am confused. They may. But the important details have remained stable." Halima read them aloud. The date, the location, the grey Lexus, the black SUV, the final plate letters KJX, the name Blue Crest, Ronki's warning about Nii, the bracelet, the ambulance appearing before any public call for help. Those points had not moved. "People think truth means remembering every leaf on the road," Halima said. "That is not how the mind works after fear. We check what can be checked." Dare sat at the end of the table, saying little. On the second day, Sade looked at him. "You are squeezing your face." He blinked. "What?" "You have been squeezing your face since morning. Ask what is worrying you." Dare folded his hands. "Why did you not tell the police about the bracelet that first morning?" "I did. The report does not mention it. There was no report when I returned." "Why not go to another station?" "I went." "You never said that. You never asked." Halima raised her hand before the exchange grew sharp. Sade continued. "The second station told me the case was already all over television, and I should contact the family hotline. I called the hotline from a charging kiosk 2 days later. The person asked for my national identity number before taking details. I did not have the card. It burned with my things." "What burned?" Dare asked. "My kiosk." She spoke for the first time about the life before the road. Sade had run a small food stall near a construction yard in Yaba. She sold rice, beans, stew, and fried plantain to workers who paid daily. Her husband helped with supplies until kidney disease weakened him. Medical bills grew. She borrowed from 2 informal lenders. Then a night fire swept through the row of stalls. The council said the structures were illegal and refused compensation. One lender seized her cooking equipment. Her landlord changed the lock after 11 weeks of unpaid rent. Her husband died 6 months later in a public hospital. Sade moved between friends until their own rooms became too crowded. Her identity documents had been inside a metal box at the stall. She began replacing them, but every step required another document, another address, another transport fare. By the time Ronke's car crashed, Sade owned 1 bag and 3 changes of clothes. Dare looked away, not from pity, from discomfort. The Balagun Relief Foundation had run a campaign for traders affected by market fires. Ronke had argued that replacement documents and emergency rent mattered as much as food. Dare had called the proposal too administrative. He remembered the meeting. He remembered dismissing it. At the time, it had seemed like a small decision. Now, a woman who could have saved his daughter had been trapped outside his gate, partly because she lacked the very documents his foundation had refused to help replace. The circle closed quietly. It still cut. On September 14, the hotel technology team reported that the security room footage could not be recovered from the main server. Titi signed the report. The failure was blamed on a storage migration. Dare read it once, then sent it to Bode. Bode called him 20 minutes later. "Sir, the report is incomplete." "How?" "The hotel system mirrors sensitive area footage to a disaster recovery server. That server is not controlled by banquet management. Who controls it? Group risk. Can Niji access it? He can authorize deletion, but the deletion itself creates a log." Dare closed his office door. "Retrieve the footage." "Sir, I need formal authority." "You have it." "I need it in writing." Dare almost snapped at him. Then he remembered Halima's words: paper, process, evidence. He signed the instruction. At 6:27 p.m., Bode sent a secure video file. Dare watched it alone. The angle did cover the floor. It showed Sade's bag falling open. It showed the comb, the water sachets, the Bible, and the burnt photograph. It showed no silverware. Then the older guard pulled Sade toward the side door. Titi knelt. Her right hand entered her jacket. 2 silver forks appeared. She pushed them into the bag, closed it, reopened it, and performed surprise. Dare watched the 11 minutes 3 times. On the 4th viewing, he noticed Niyi. Before Titi touched the bag, she looked at him. He nodded. The movement was tiny. It was enough. Dare felt something inside him collapse. Not trust. Trust had already cracked. This was shame. Sade had told him to check the camera. Instead, he had allowed the lie to escort her to a police station. He called Halima. "I have the footage. Preserve the original. It shows Titi planting the forks." "Preserve the original," Halima repeated. "Do not send it through ordinary messaging. Do not confront anybody yet. We need a documented chain. I want her removed from my hotel tonight. You want satisfaction. We need the truth. She humiliated an innocent woman, and if you sack her without securing the evidence, she may destroy more records or claim the video was altered." Dare stood by the window, looking down at Lagos traffic. How long? Not long, but properly. The next morning, an independent forensic technician collected a copy directly from the server. The access logs were sealed. The original remained untouched. Only then did Dare summon Titi. She entered his office, smiling. "Good morning, sir." Dare turned his laptop toward her. The video played. Titi's smile died. She watched herself place the forks inside Sade's bag. When the clip ended, she began speaking too fast. "Sir, I can explain. I was only trying to protect the hotel. That woman had already caused disorder," Mr. Adebayo said. She stopped. Dare's eyes sharpened. "Mr. Adebayo said what?" Titi's lips trembled. "He said people like her understand consequences only when they feel them." "Did he tell you to plant stolen property?" "No, sir. Not exactly." "What does not exactly mean?" "He said we needed something concrete, something the police could use." Dare pressed a button on his desk. 2 members of internal risk entered. Titi stepped back. "Sir, please. I have worked here for 9 years. You used 9 years of access to frame a hungry woman." She was threatening the brand. Dare stared at her. "The brand." Titi's voice broke. "Sir, I have a family. So does Sade. Poverty did not cancel hers." He ordered her suspended with immediate effect. Her access card, company phone, and office keys were collected. She was warned not to contact staff or alter records. As she was escorted out, she turned at the door. "You think Niyi will allow you to push everything on me?" Dare did not answer, but he recorded the question. The food distribution records were worse. Ronke's preliminary review covered 14 months. It found 407 meals reported as delivered to shelters that had received fewer than 18,000. 7 truck journeys were billed on days when vehicle tracking showed the trucks parked. 3 vendor companies used different names but shared one phone number. That number belonged to a cousin of Niyi. Payments moved through layers. Balagun Relief Foundation paid food vendors. The vendors paid Blue Crest Recovery Services for cold chain support. Blue Crest transferred money to a consulting firm registered 6 weeks before Ronke's accident. The consulting firm paid rent for an EP property and serviced a loan connected to Niyi. Bode spread the documents across a long table. "This is not one theft," he said. "It is a system." Dare paced behind him. "How much?" "Confirmed so far, 486,730,000. Dare stopped. "Nearly $500 million naira. That is confirmed. There may be more." "Ronk found this?" "She found the structure. She asked me to verify vendors quietly." "Why quietly?" "She said somebody inside management was watching her access." "Did she name Niyi?" "No, sir." Dare looked at him sharply. Bode did not lower his eyes. "I will not say what she did not say." Dare nodded slowly. That answer earned more trust than quick agreement would have. They followed Blue Crest. Corporate records showed the company had officially stopped operating 11 months earlier. Yet fuel cards linked to it were still active. A pharmacy in EP had issued monthly invoices for sedatives, pain medication and neurological drugs to a Blue Crest account. One patient name appeared repeatedly. Rita B., female, age 27, blood group O, positive, allergies, penicillin. Ronke was 27. Her blood group was O, positive. She was allergic to penicillin. Dare stared at the record until the letters blurred. "Where is the delivery address?" Bode pointed. "A property behind a private wellness center outside AP." Dare reached for his phone. Halima stopped him. "Do not send your own men. My daughter may be there. And if armed people are holding her, your convoy arriving could get her killed or moved. I will not sit here. You will not turn rescue into revenge." Dare slammed his fist against the table. "That is my child." Halima did not flinch. "And that is why you are not the person to lead the operation." For several seconds, anger filled the room. Then Dare stepped away. He pressed both hands over his face. "What do we need? A lawful search, medical support, officers who are not connected to the earlier missing person team, and enough evidence that a judge will not dismiss this as a grieving father chasing rumors." They prepared the file. The bracelet, Sade's statements, the visitor logs, the Blue Crest transactions, pharmacy invoices, vehicle fuel purchases near Epe, the old ambulance registration. A partial plate match ending in KJX. Bode found the vehicle in an insurance database. The full number had changed twice, but the chassis record linked it to Blue Crest. Sade was shown 6 ambulance photographs. She did not immediately choose one. She studied them for nearly 4 minutes. "This one has the same rear light shape," she said, touching the 4th photograph. "But the bird on the side is different." The investigator zoomed in. The photograph was 2 years old. The company had changed its logo later. Sade had not guessed the answer they expected. She had corrected it. That strengthened her account. While the file moved through legal channels, Niyi began to fight back. He called an emergency meeting of senior executives and told them Dare was becoming unstable. "He has placed group systems in the hands of outsiders," Niyi said. He is suspending loyal staff based on accusations from a homeless woman. He has diverted company money into a private search without board approval. Some directors looked uncomfortable. Others looked interested. Power rarely remained empty for long. Nii circulated a medical memorandum claiming Ronke had experienced severe paranoia before her disappearance. The document stated that she had accused colleagues without evidence and resisted treatment. The doctor's name at the bottom was Uche Okoro. The memorandum was dated December 2nd, 2024. At first glance, it looked official. Bode checked the file metadata. It had been created on September 15th, 2025, 3 days after Sade appeared. Nii also contacted reporters. Stories began appearing online. Grieving billionaire misled by mystery woman. Balagan board concerned over chairman since state of mind. Homeless claimant demands payment in missing Hyras case. Sade saw one headline on Halima's phone. Payment? She asked. They are trying to create a story before the evidence becomes public. Sade handed the phone back. So answer them. Not yet. Every time somebody says not yet, a lie grows another leg. Halima sat beside her, and every time we rush, Nii learns what we know. Sade stood and paced the small office. They already think because I slept outside, my mouth is for rent. I know. No, you know it as a case. I know it as mourning. Halima allowed the words to settle. Then she said, You are right. Sade stopped. I cannot know it the way you do, Halima continued, but I can make sure they do not use your anger to damage the case. Sade looked through the window. After a while, she sat again. Tell me what to do. On September 18, a judge authorized the search. The operation began at 5:42 a.m. Dare waited in a vehicle 3 kilometers away. Halima stayed with him. Sade insisted on coming, but she remained at the waiting point until the location was secured. The EP facility stood behind a high cream wall. A small sign near the gate read Blue Haven Rest and Recovery. There was no Blue Crest name anywhere. Officers entered with medical personnel. The front building contained 6 rooms, a reception desk, and a treatment area. Dr. Uche Okoro arrived wearing slippers and a pale blue shirt, claiming the facility housed private patients whose families demanded confidentiality. The search team checked the register. Rita B. occupied an outbuilding at the back. The door was locked from outside. Dr. Uche said it was for the patient's safety. An officer ordered him to open it. His hand shook on the key. The room smelled of antiseptic, sweat, and damp curtains. A narrow bed stood near the wall. A woman lay beneath a thin blanket. Her hair had been cut short. Her left leg was supported by a brace. Dark marks circled one wrist. An intravenous line entered her arm. She turned her face toward the door. Light hurt her eyes. Rita? A nurse asked gently. The woman stared. Then she whispered, That is not my name. At the waiting point, Dare watched the gate through the windscreen. Every minute felt like a year. His phone rang at 6:18 a.m. Halima answered because his hands were shaking too badly. She listened. Then she closed her eyes. Dare gripped her arm. What? Halima turned to him. They found a woman. Is it Ronke? They believe so. She is alive. The sound that left Dare was not a word. It was grief turning into air. He bent forward until his forehead touched the seat in front of him. His shoulders shook. For months he had imagined graves, rivers, forests, locked rooms. He had practiced identifying a body in his mind because fear insisted preparation could reduce pain. Alive. The word entered him slowly. Alive. When medical staff brought Ronke out, Dare ran toward the ambulance. Halima caught his sleeve. Let them assess her first. That is my daughter. She may be frightened. Give them 1 minute. Dare stood in the road, crying openly. The ambulance doors remained open. A nurse spoke to Ronke. Another checked her pupils. Then Sade stepped from the second vehicle. She did not move closer. She stayed near the wall, uncertain whether she belonged in that moment. Ronke's head turned. Her eyes were unfocused, but she heard Sade speak to an officer. That window should remain open. The smell inside is too strong. Ronke froze. Sade? The name came out weak. Everyone turned. Sade covered her mouth. Ronke tried to sit up. Pain crossed her face. "You found my father?" she asked. Sade walked closer, tears running freely now. "No, my daughter. The truth found him. I only refused to drop it." Ronke reached out. Sade took her hand. Dare stood one step away, unable to breathe. Ronke looked at him. For several seconds, father and daughter simply stared. Then she whispered, "Daddy." Dare fell to his knees beside the ambulance. He pressed her hand to his forehead. "I am here. You took long." The words were soft. They cut deeper than shouting. Dare wept. "I know." Ronke closed her eyes. "Do not let Nii touch the files." Dare lifted his head. "What files?" "The foundation accounts." "He knows." A nurse asked everyone to step back. Ronke was transported to an independent hospital under police protection. Dr. Uche was taken for questioning. Computers, medication logs, and patient records were seized. Inside the facility, officers found a locked cabinet containing copies of documents bearing Ronke's signature. Several had been signed while toxicology records showed high levels of sedative medication in her system. One document authorized Nii to act on her behalf in foundation matters. Another claimed she had entered the facility voluntarily due to a mental health crisis. A third stated that she wished to avoid contact with her father. The signatures looked convincing. The dates did not. One page was signed on a day. Ronke's treatment record showed she had been unconscious for 19 hours. By noon, word of the search had not yet reached the public. Nii still believed he had time. At 1:34 p.m., he issued notice of an emergency board meeting for the following morning. The agenda had one item: removal of the chairman for incapatis and urgent, transfer of executive authority. If the motion passed, Nii would control the accounts, the legal department, and the group's internal records. He could move money. He could destroy evidence. He could turn Dare's search for Ronke into proof that the older man had lost his mind. At 2:02 p.m., Dare received the notice while sitting outside his daughter's hospital room. He read it once. Then he looked through the glass at Ronke, sleeping beneath white sheets. Nii did not know she had been found. Not yet. For the first time, Dare held an advantage. He intended to use it. The emergency board meeting began at 9 a.m. the next morning. Nii arrived at 8:17. He entered Balagan Towers through the front lobby while cameras waited outside. He had invited selected business reporters, claiming transparency was necessary because the chairman's decisions now threatened thousands of jobs. His emerald suit was darker than the one he wore at the gala. The ruby tie at his throat looked almost black under the lobby lights. He stopped for photographs. "I have no personal ambition in this matter," he told the reporters. "My duty is to protect the company, the foundation, and Mr. Balagan himself from decisions made under unbearable grief." He spoke like a man carrying a burden. People believed him. That was his gift. On the 23rd floor, directors took their seats around a polished oval table. Dare arrived last. He wore a plain navy suit, no cobalt, no spectacle. His face was tired, but his steps were steady. Nii stood to greet him. "Sir." Dare passed without answering. The meeting opened with a legal objection. Dare's counsel argued that the notice period violated the company's governance rules. The proposed transfer of all executive authority also required review by independent directors who had not received supporting documents. Nii objected. The chairman is using technicalities to delay a necessary decision. Dare finally spoke. You mean I am using the rules you helped write? Niyi's expression remained smooth. Rules exist to protect the company, not to shield one man. Good. Then we agree they should be followed. For 2 hours, both sides argued. The board refused to remove Dare that morning. But it also refused to dismiss Niyi's concerns. A full extraordinary meeting was scheduled for September 28, 10 days later. Independent directors, external auditors, and media observers would attend. Niyi would present his case. Dare would respond. The delay looked like compromise. It was a countdown. Niyi left the room angry but not frightened. He believed Dare had found only accounting irregularities, and the word of a woman nobody respected. He did not know Ronke was alive. Dare kept it that way. The hospital registered her under a protected file. Only Halima, the investigation team, and a small medical group had access. Staff phones were restricted near her room. Police watched both entrances. Ronke spent the first 3 days moving between sleep and confusion. The drugs had affected her memory in patches. Her injured leg had healed badly. Muscles had weakened from months of limited movement. She woke at night shouting that the door was locked. Sometimes she recognized Dare. Sometimes she asked why he had not come. He never told her to stop asking. On the 4th day, she remembered the accident clearly enough to give a preliminary statement. Dare wanted to be present. Ronke refused. I need to speak without watching your face, she said. The sentence hurt him. He accepted it. Halima sat with Ronke while officers recorded the account. Ronke explained that she had discovered payments hidden inside the foundation's food distribution program. At first, she assumed they were bookkeeping errors. Then she visited 3 shelters listed as receiving weekly deliveries. One shelter had closed 7 months earlier. The second received food only once a month, though invoices claimed twice weekly deliveries. The third did not exist at the address in the records. Ronke compared vehicle tracking data, fuel expenses, and signed delivery sheets. The same handwriting appeared on forms, supposedly completed by different shelter managers. She told Niyi she planned to commission an external audit. He laughed. You are carrying this foundation on your head as if poor people will clap for you when the money finishes. Ronke did not laugh. This is not about clapping. Somebody is stealing food money. Then let compliance handle it. Compliance reported to you. Bode was transferred. Niyi's face changed for 1 second. That was when she knew. She copied the records onto a memory card and stored encrypted copies in 2 separate places. The physical card remained inside the lining of a document pouch. On January 8, she met Niyi at a restaurant and told him she would inform her father the next morning. Niyi asked for 1 night to explain. She refused. On her drive home, the black SUV appeared. After the crash, she remembered Sade's voice, rain on her face, and the silver bracelet leaving her wrist. She remembered the ambulance. She remembered seeing Niyi inside Blue Crest 2 days later. He sat beside her bed. You forced my hand, he said. Ronke tried to scream. Her mouth barely worked. Niyi told her the accident had caused brain swelling and that she needed rest, he said. Her father believed she had left Nigeria voluntarily. He said nobody would find her if she cooperated. When she refused to sign documents, Dr. Uch increased her medication. There were periods she could not remember at all. During clearer weeks, she learned the staff routine. She hid tablets beneath her tongue and spat them into tissue later. She counted vehicles by sound. She memorized invoice numbers left on a tray. She scratched dates beneath the bed frame using a broken plastic clip. Twice, she tried to reach a window. Her leg failed. Once, she managed to push a note beneath the door. Dr. Uch found it and moved her to the locked rear room. Nii visited every 2 or 3 weeks. The last time, he showed her an online report saying Dare was preparing to declare her legally dead. It was false. Ronke believed it for 3 days. When she finished the statement, her hands were shaking. Halima switched off the recorder. "You can stop," she said. Ronke looked at the closed door. "No, I have stopped for 8 months." The medical team assessed her capacity carefully. They did not assume that recognizing people meant she was ready for public questioning. A neurologist examined her. A toxicologist reviewed the drug levels. A psychologist evaluated whether pressure might worsen her condition. By September 26, they agreed she could give a limited public statement if she chose, with breaks and medical support nearby. Dare argued against it. "You do not owe the public your pain." Ronke sat in a hospital chair, her injured leg extended. "I owe myself my voice. Nii will attack your memory." He already did. He created a report saying, "I was paranoid before I disappeared." We can expose that without putting you in the room. He used my silence as evidence. I will not give him more. Dare walked to the window. "I nearly lost you." Ronke's voice softened, but only slightly. "You nearly lost me because you trusted access more than evidence. Nii could reach you. Sade could not." Dare closed his eyes. "I know. No, Daddy, you know now. That is not the same as knowing then." He turned. "What do you want from me?" "Do not protect me by deciding for me." The words resembled something her mother might have said. Dare nodded. "All right." On September 28, the extraordinary board meeting moved from the usual conference room to the group's auditorium. More than 100 employees, directors, auditors, and reporters attended. A live stream was authorized because Nii had spent 10 days telling the public that the company was hiding a leadership crisis. He wanted a stage. He received one. At 10:02 a.m., Nii walked to the lectern. Behind him, a large screen displayed the words governance, stability, responsibility. Dare sat in the front row. Halima sat 2 seats away. Sade occupied a chair near the back, beside an aisle. She wore a clean, burnt orange dress and a pale turquoise scarf. The clothes were simple. They fit her properly. She had refused jewelry. "I do not want them to say, 'Shine made me truthful,'" she told Halima. Titi sat on the opposite side of the auditorium under a legal summons. Her purple jacket had been replaced by a plain black blouse, but her chin remained high. She had agreed to appear because Nii's lawyers promised that responsibility for the hotel incident would fall on junior security staff. She still believed he would protect her. Nii began calmly. He described Dare's distinguished career. He praised the chairman's contribution to Nigerian hospitality. He spoke about grief as if it were an illness he alone had noticed. Then the screen changed. A blurred clip showed Sade struggling with guards in the service yard. The video began after the food had been poured away. It removed Titi's insults. It showed only Sade pulling against security. Nii paused the image on Sade's angry face. This woman entered a restricted area and became violent. Sade rose halfway from her chair. Halima touched her wrist. "Let him finish building it," she whispered. "We will pull it down properly." Sade sat. Nii displayed photographs of the silver forks. Hotel property was found in her possession. Titi nodded for the cameras. Next came Sade's interview transcripts, with differences highlighted in red. 7 minutes, 10 minutes. Bird logo facing left, uncertain, tall attendant. Mostly sore shoulders. Nii looked toward the audience. "Are these the memories on which we should risk a company employing over 8,000 people?" Murmurs moved through the room. Then he displayed Ronke's forged medical memorandum. It described paranoid beliefs, emotional instability, and false accusations against colleagues. Niyi lowered his voice. I did not wish to make Miss Balogun's private health matters public. But the chairman has allowed a vulnerable woman's confused statements to be used against loyal employees. Silence would now be irresponsible. Dare's hands closed around the chair arms. Niyi continued. He showed expense reports from the private investigation, suggesting company funds had been used without authorization. He accused Dare of surrendering confidential systems to outsiders. Finally, he proposed that the board remove Dare and appoint Niyi acting chairman until an independent capacity review was completed. Applause came from a small group near the front. Not much. Enough. Niyi stepped back from the lectern. For the sake of this company, I am prepared to accept that burden. Dare stood. He did not approach the stage immediately. He looked towards Sade. 8 months earlier, she had stood outside his office with truth under her sleeve. 10 days earlier, he had almost allowed planted forks to erase her. This time, he waited until she nodded. Then he walked to the lectern. I have made serious mistakes, he began. Niyi's supporters shifted, expecting surrender. Dare looked directly into the cameras. I believed professional titles before I examined conduct. I allowed access to become a substitute for trust. I permitted one office to control which voices reached me. And on September 12, inside my own hotel, I treated a woman as a suspect before treating her as a human being. The auditorium became still. Niyi frowned. Dare continued. My mistakes are not proof that Mr. Adebayo is correct. They are part of the reason his conduct went undetected. The screen behind him changed. Halima had taken control of the presentation feed through the independent audit team. The full service yard video played. Guests saw Sade standing outside the marked line. They heard her ask for a sealed meal. They heard Titi order the food poured into a dirty bin. They heard the insult. This is Balogun Grand, not a feeding ground for street rats. Titi's face drained of color. The video continued into the security room. Sade's bag fell. No forks. Titi's hand entered her jacket. 2 forks appeared. She planted them. A gasp rose from the audience. Titi stood. That video has been edited. Halima walked onto the stage carrying a sealed evidence file. The source file was recovered from the hotel disaster recovery server. Its hash value was verified by an independent forensic technician. Access logs show the main copy was deleted using Ms. George's credentials at 10:41 p.m. on September 12. Titi looked at Niyi. He did not look back. Halima displayed the deletion log. Then the visitor register. 6 entries appeared with Sade's name. January 17, January 24th, February 3rd, February 17, March 6th, March 28. Beside each entry, the red instruction appeared. Do not escalate to Balogun. Inspection from Adebayo. The room turned toward Niyi. He remained seated. Visitor notes are not proof of wrongdoing, he said. No, Halima replied. They prove that your statement saying, Sade never came forward was false. She moved to the next document. Blue Crest Recovery Services. Payments from 3 food vendors. Shared phone numbers. Linked directors. Fuel purchases. Pharmacy invoices. The EP property lease. Halima did not shout. She explained the flow slowly enough for every listener to follow. The foundation paid vendors for meals. The vendors paid Blue Crest for services it did not perform. Blue Crest transferred funds to a consulting company linked to Niyi's family. That company paid costs associated with the place where Ronke had been held. Niyi rose. This is a desperate attempt to connect ordinary commercial transactions. Bode stepped to the side microphone. I reviewed the transactions before Miss Balogun disappeared. Niyi turned. You were transferred for poor performance. Bode lifted the December 19 memo. Then why did you freeze my review before transferring me? The signed instruction appeared on screen. Niyi's own signature. He looked toward the directors. Any executive can pause a review. It does not mean I stole money. Correct, Halima said. That is why we kept checking. The next slide showed the forged medical memorandum. Creation date, September 15, 2025. Claimed examination date, December 2, 2024. Halima faced the audience. The document presented as a medical record from last year did not exist until 3 days after Sade appeared with the bracelet. Murmurs became louder. Niyi's calm began to crack. Metadata can be manipulated. So can patients, Halima replied, especially when a doctor is paid through the same financial network. She displayed Dr. Uch's payment records. Titi stood again. Niyi told me to protect the hotel, she shouted. He told me we needed something concrete against that woman. Niyi looked at her at last. You planted evidence because you are dishonest. Do not bring my name into your stupidity. Titi's mouth fell open. For 9 years, she had insulted cleaners, waiters, and people at service doors because she believed closeness to powerful men made her powerful too. Now the man she served discarded her in one sentence. The humiliation was complete. She pointed at him with a shaking hand. You said Sade had to look like a thief before the chairman returned. You said if she spoke, the entire Blue Crest arrangement would open. Niyi's lawyer rose. My client will not respond to unsupported allegations. Sade stood at the back. Her voice traveled through the auditorium without a microphone. Then let the person you tried to silence respond. All heads turned. The side doors opened. A woman entered slowly, leaning on a black walking stick. She wore an ivory dress beneath a bright coral shawl. Her hair was short. Her face was thinner than the photographs everybody knew. A medical officer walked several steps behind her, close enough to help, but not holding her. Ronka Balagun crossed the threshold. The room forgot how to breathe. A reporter's phone slipped from his hand and struck the floor. Dare did not move. He had promised not to turn his daughter's entrance into his own moment. Niyi stared at Ronke as if the dead had entered to collect him. For the first time, his mouth opened without a prepared sentence. No. Ronke stopped near the front row. Yes. Niyi backed one step. You should not be here. You are not well. Ronke looked at the forged medical memorandum on the screen. You wrote that before or after you paid Dr. Uch to keep the door locked. His lawyer moved toward him. Do not answer. Ronke took the lectern. Her hands trembled. She placed both palms on the wood until they steadied. My name is Ronke Balagun. I am 27 years old. I was not outside Nigeria. I did not leave my family voluntarily. I did not ask to avoid my father. On January 8, my vehicle was forced off the Lekki-Ep road after I told Niyi Adebayo that I would expose the theft of foundation funds. Niyi shook his head. You were confused after the accident. Ronka turned toward him. You came to Blue Crest wearing a grey kaftan 2 days later. You sat on the left side of my bed because the right side was against the wall. You told Dr. Uche to increase the dose because I refused to sign. You showed me a false article saying my father would declare me dead. Which part did my injury invent? Niyi's face shone with sweat. Ronke continued. The memory card you want are not in Sade's bag. His eyes changed. That reaction was visible to everyone. Ronke saw it. So you did ask her about it. Niyi looked toward the exit. 2 officers entered through the rear doors. Another pair stood near the stage. They carried warrants. Niyi stepped away from the table. This meeting is illegal. One officer approached. Mr. Niyi Adebayo, you are under arrest in connection with unlawful confinement, financial fraud, conspiracy to cause grievous harm, fabrication of evidence, and obstruction of an investigation. Niyi looked at Dare. Sir, this is madness. After everything I did for you? Dare's voice was quiet. You did everything around me, not for me. The officer reached for Niyi's wrist. Niyi pulled back. Cameras moved closer. For years he had managed every angle. Now there was no good one. He looked at Ronke. You cannot prove I ordered that vehicle to hit you. Ronke's expression did not change. Then save that argument for court. The handcuffs closed. No music played. Nobody clapped. The sound of metal was enough. Titi tried to leave through a side aisle. Another officer stopped her. She was informed that she would be questioned over evidence, tampering, false reporting, and suspected participation in fraudulent food distribution records. Her shoulders collapsed. Please, she said. I only followed instructions. Sade looked at her. That sentence did not help me when your guard held my arms. Titi began to cry. Sade did not smile. Justice did not need her cruelty to become complete. Dr. Uche was already in custody. His facility records showed payments tied to Niyi's network. Other patient files were being reviewed. Investigators had found locked doors, falsified identities, and drugs administered without proper consent. When Niyi and Titi were taken away, the auditorium remained silent. The meeting was no longer about removing Dare. It had become a public record of how easily respectability could hide harm. Dare returned to the lectern. He looked at Sade first. Madam Sade Coker, I accused you before I listened. I allowed you to be detained in my building. I believed planted evidence because it fitted what I had already decided about you. I am sorry. Sade stood. People expected tears. They expected forgiveness wrapped in one beautiful sentence. Sade gave them neither. Sorry is a door, she said. It is not the whole road. Dare nodded. What road do you want? My name cleared publicly. Compensation through the proper process, not an envelope. Not a gift that will make your company look kind. You will have it. And the food. Dare glanced at the screen. What about it? You people held a hunger gala while good food entered rubbish. Do not call that one bad manager. Your system allowed it. The words struck the room. Sade continued. If food is no longer safe, throw it away. Poor people are not dustbins. But if it is sealed, stored properly, and still safe, create a system to move it. Record the temperature. Record the time. Use verified shelters. Do not carry cameras to people's faces while they are eating. Hunger is not your advertisement. Several employees lowered their heads. Also, Sade said, make a way for somebody without an address to report something important. The truth should not need a suit before it enters your office. Dare looked at Ronke. His daughter's eyes were wet. She nodded. Dare faced Sade again. We will do it. No, Sade replied. You will put it in writing. With outside people watching, a few quiet laughs moved through the auditorium. Not at Sade, with her. Dare almost smiled. Halima will help draft it. Halima raised an eyebrow. Sade will help draft it. I will make sure nobody removes her words. This time, the laughter was stronger. The meeting ended without a vote. The motion to remove Dare was withdrawn. Niyi's access was frozen. External auditors took control of the foundation review. Employees were instructed to preserve all records. Outside, reporters crowded around Sade. How does it feel to be the woman who saved a billionaire's daughter? One shouted. Sade stopped. I did not save her alone. But you found her. No, I helped her at the road. Other people checked evidence. Medical workers brought her out. A lawyer stopped them from burying my voice. Do not turn one person into magic and forget the system that failed. Another reporter pushed forward. Will Mr. Balagun make you rich? Sade looked at him for a long moment. Is money the only language you understand? The crowd quieted. I want a room where the lock belongs to me, she said. I want work that pays me. I want my name clean. I want another woman at a gate to be heard before she carries proof for 8 months. If you call only a mansion a good ending, you have not understood anything." She walked away beside Halima. Behind them, Dare supported Ronke as she reached the hospital vehicle. But he did not carry her. He had finally learned the difference. 8 months later, the sign outside Balagun Grand had changed. The hotel name remained. The service entrance remained. But beside the delivery gate stood a new refrigerated collection point with a digital temperature display, sealed shelves, and a notice printed in 4 languages. Safe food only. No public photography without consent. Dignity is part of service. At 7:15 each evening, unused sealed meals were counted by 2 staff members. The temperature was recorded. Boxes that remained within the safe window were transferred to verified shelters and low-cost community kitchens. Meals that had stayed out too long were discarded, not donated simply to make waste statistics look good. Every collection generated a record. Every shelter confirmed receipt independently. For the first time, the people receiving food could report poor quality without risking removal from the program. The initiative had a name: Second Plate, First Dignity. Ronke suggested the first half. Sade insisted on the second. "Because people will focus on plate and forget the person holding it," she said. The program was not presented as a miracle. In the first month, 2 hotels failed temperature checks. One shelter complained that boxes arrived too late. A driver attempted to divert meals for resale and was dismissed after route records exposed him. The problems were published in the quarterly report. Dare wanted them removed before release. Ronke refused. "If we publish only success, we are doing the same thing Niyi did. We will be selling a picture instead of showing the work." Dare looked at the report. Then he signed it. The first serious complaint came from a shelter that received 43 sealed meals, with labels showing the wrong collection time. The food was still within the safe temperature range, but the record could not prove how long it had been outside controlled storage. The shelter coordinator rejected the entire delivery. One hotel manager became angry. "Do they know how much that food cost?" he demanded. Sade answered during the review call, "They know exactly what it cost. That is why they refuse to gamble with people's health." The manager argued that wasting the food would damage the program's performance figures. Ronke asked one question: "Are the figures meant to protect people? Or are people meant to protect the figures?" Nobody answered. The meals were discarded. The labeling procedure was corrected. The incident remained in the public report. That decision mattered. It showed the shelters that they were not expected to accept anything, simply because it came free. It also taught the hotel teams that donation did not reduce responsibility. Food given to a person in need required the same care as food served to a paying guest. Learning did not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looked like leaving an embarrassing paragraph on page 17. The criminal cases moved slowly, as serious cases often did. There were hearings, adjournments, document disputes, and arguments over jurisdiction. Niyi's lawyers challenged the search of Blue Haven. They questioned Ronke's memory. They claimed payments to Blue Crest were legitimate consulting fees. They said Titi acted alone when she planted the forks, but the records held. The vehicle linked to the crash carried paint transfer matching material recovered from Ronke's Lexus storage file. Fuel purchases placed it on the Lekki-Eep route that night. Blue Crest phone data showed calls between Niyi, Dr. Uchek, and the ambulance driver shortly before and after the collision. The foundation transfers were traced through 4 accounts. The false medical report had been created after Sade appeared. The signed documents from Blue Haven conflicted with medication records. No single piece carried the entire case. Together, they formed a wall. Nii was charged with conspiracy, fraud, unlawful confinement, obstruction, and offenses linked to the road incident. More than 312 million in connected assets were frozen pending restitution proceedings. Additional money was recovered from vendor accounts. Dr. Uch lost the authority under which he had been operating. His facility remained closed while every patient record was reviewed. 2 families came forward after recognizing the building in news reports. Their complaints opened separate investigations. Titi pleaded not guilty at first. Then the full security footage was admitted. Her own voice filled the courtroom. Poor people are becoming too bold. She watched herself place forks inside Sade's bag. After that, her lawyers changed direction. Titi admitted evidence tampering and false reporting. She also provided records showing how food deliveries had been falsified. Her cooperation affected the eventual recommendation on sentencing, but it did not erase accountability. There was no scene where she fell at Sade's feet. There was no instant transformation. At one hearing, Titi saw Sade across the corridor and whispered, "I was afraid of losing my job." Sade replied, "So you tried to make me lose my freedom?" Titi had no answer. That was enough. Dare did not remain untouched by the scandal. The board appointed an independent chair to oversee the foundation. Dare's surrendered sole authority over charitable funds. A whistleblower channel was placed outside group management. Vendor ownership records became public. Delivery reports were reviewed by a committee that included shelter representatives, food safety professionals, and 2 people with lived experience of homelessness. Dare disliked some of the meetings. People interrupted him. They rejected his preferred timelines. They asked why hotel guests received same-day responses while shelter complaints waited 3 weeks. At the first session, he tried to explain the complexity of corporate systems. Sade leaned back in her chair. Ogre Dare, hunger also has complexity. It still arrives every evening on time. The room laughed. Dare did too. Then he changed the response deadline. Sade's compensation was handled through a written settlement reviewed by Halima. It covered unlawful detention, reputational harm, the false theft accusation, and the injuries to her wrist. The public correction named her clearly and withdrew every allegation. Dare also offered to buy her a house. She refused. "I do not want a building that people will point at and say, 'See what the billionaire gave the beggar.'" "You deserve security," he said. "I deserve choice. What is the difference in this case?" "The difference is whether my life becomes your gift or my own work." They agreed on a transparent housing support arrangement available through the new program, not a private favor tied to her relationship with him. Sade used part of her settlement to pay a year's rent on a small 1-bedroom flat in Surulere. The first evening she entered, she locked the door. Then she opened it again. She stepped into the corridor, checked the number, and went back inside. The key turned smoothly. Her lock, her room, her choice. She sat on the bare floor and cried for 23 minutes. Not because the apartment was beautiful. It was not. The kitchen tap leaked. One window refused to close fully. The bedroom wall needed paint, she cried, because nobody could tell her to leave before morning. The next day, she bought a small orange cooking pot. It was the first household item she chose for herself in over a year. Ronke wanted Sade to join the foundation immediately. Sade refused that too. "I know food," she said, "but knowing hunger does not make me automatically qualified to manage a program." So she completed an updated food safety course. She learned new storage standards, record systems, and community procurement rules. She argued with the instructor twice, and passed with 91%. Only then did she accept a paid role as community distribution coordinator. Her contract listed salary, leave, duties, and review procedures. No one called it charity. Within 6 months, Sade helped establish a low-cost kitchen run by 4 women who had experienced unstable housing. They served construction workers, drivers, cleaners, and traders. Customers who could pay full price did. A limited number of meals were subsidized through a clearly audited fund. Sade named the kitchen the Open Door. One journalist asked whether she chose the name because Dare had opened doors for her. Sade corrected him immediately. No, I chose it because too many doors stayed closed. Ronke's recovery did not move in a straight line. Some weeks she walked without the stick for several minutes. Other weeks, pain forced her back into a brace. Loud locks triggered panic. The smell of antiseptic made her nauseous. She could not sleep in a room with heavy curtains. Dare wanted to solve everything. He hired specialists. He researched clinics. He bought equipment before asking whether she wanted it. During one family therapy session, Ronke placed a list on the table. These are the things I need from you. Dare read it. Ask before arranging treatment. Do not speak for me in interviews. Do not call me a mistake I made. Do not ask for forgiveness when I am discussing harm. Attend therapy even when I do not attend. Dare read the final line twice. Why should I come if you are not here? Because not everything that needs healing is inside me. He put the paper down. All right. At first he attended because he had promised. Later, he attended because he began to understand. He spoke about his wife's death, about the terror of losing Ronke too, about the way wealth had trained people around him to hide bad news, about his own habit of confusing obedience with loyalty. He did not become a different man overnight. He became a man who could hear the sentence before defending himself. That was slower. It was also real. One Saturday afternoon, Dare visited the Open Door without cameras. He wore a simple blue shirt and arrived with one security officer who waited outside. Sade was stirring stew in the orange pot. You came to inspect, she asked. To eat. Have you paid? Dare smiled. Put it on my tab. No tab for billionaires. He paid. She served him rice, beans, and plantain in a metal plate. Dare sat beside 2 bus drivers and a hotel cleaner. Nobody moved to give him a private table because there was none. Halfway through the meal, an elderly woman entered and asked whether there was any subsidized portion left. Sade checked the register. 1 remains. She served the same food from the same pot, not leftovers scraped from somebody else's plate, not spoiled food presented as kindness. The same meal. Dare watched. Sade noticed. This is what dignity looks like, she said. Most times it is not grand. Dare nodded. It is expensive. No. Disrespect is expensive. It cost your family 8 months. He lowered his eyes. She allowed the silence to remain. Then she placed 1 more piece of plantain on his plate. Eat before it gets cold, Olga. That was as close to forgiveness as she was ready to come. He did not demand more. On the first anniversary of Ronke's rescue, the foundation held no gala. There were no chandeliers, no celebrity speeches, and no giant screen showing poor people receiving bags of rice. Instead, teams published the program's full results. They listed meals recovered, meals rejected for safety reasons, complaints received, complaints resolved, and money returned through the fraud investigation. Ronke spoke for 11 minutes. Sade spoke for 4. Dare spoke last. He said only this. A system does not become humane because its leaders use the word compassion. It becomes humane when the person with the least power can report harm, be heard, and receive an answer. Afterwards, Ronke returned the bracelet to Sade. It had been released from evidence after forensic processing. The missing turquoise stone had not been replaced. Ronke had polished the silver, but left the empty socket untouched. Sade shook her head. It belongs to you. It carried my message when I could not. That is why you should keep it. Ronke closed Sade's fingers around the bracelet. No. I want you to hold it until the system no longer needs people like you to suffer before it listens. Sade looked at the 7 stones and the empty space. Then I may hold it for a long time. Ronke smiled sadly. Maybe, but not forever. Sade did not wear it every day. She kept it inside a small wooden box in her apartment. On difficult mornings, when paperwork delayed housing support or a manager dismissed a complaint too quickly, she opened the box and read the engraving. When fear speaks, follow the evidence. The words no longer belonged only to one wealthy family. They belonged to every person who had been told that clothing made their testimony worthless. To every worker pressured to laugh when a manager humiliated somebody. To every professional tempted to polish a report until the harm disappeared. To every leader surrounded by people who said yes too quickly. What stayed with me most was not the moment the handcuffs closed around Niyi's wrists. It was not the billionaire's apology. It was not even the bracelet. It was the fact that Sade carried the truth for 247 days. Yet people kept weighing the condition of her clothes instead of the consistency of her words. A person can lose a house. A person can lose work, documents, comfort, and social standing. But none of those losses removes the right to be heard, and no expensive suit can turn a lie into truth forever. The next time somebody asks for help, remember this. You may not be looking at a burden. You may be looking at the only witness who refused to walk away. Do not measure the truth by the price of the clothes worn by the person speaking it.